Yo, today we're going to be reviewing the Bells of Steel Lat Pulldown Low Row Rack Attachment. We're going to be going over assembly, specifications, quality, usage, and of course, cost. Let's get started with assembly. Looking at the assembly for this, I would put it at about a medium difficulty. It's not as easy as something like the rack is. It's probably a little bit more difficult than even the Titan Lat Pulldown was, but it was definitely not as difficult as something like my leg press was. And the instructions online make it pretty easy as well, though you should know that that's the Manticore version versus their Hydra. Manticore being their 3x3 1-inch hole, and Hydra being their 3x3 5/8 inch hole. However, the only difference between the two is that the Manticore has a U-shaped metal that this cross member slides into versus the Hydra, the cross member just sitting on top of the base. And you should also note that if you're attaching this onto a non-Bells of Steel rack, that you'll also need to buy a cross member so that this can fit on top of it. The cross member being 86 bucks on their website. So normally for all my assemblies, I've only ever needed 2 adjustable wrenches. 2 adjustable wrenches would do the job for this as well, on top of a 6mm Allen key. But if you don't have 2 adjustable wrenches, you're gonna need 2 5/8 inch wrenches, 2 3/4 inch wrenches, and 2 15/16 inch wrenches on top of that 6mm Allen key. I don't know why they decided to use a bunch of different type of hardware, but the 15/16 is for this cross member here, and for these bolts that this top piece attaches to. The 5/8 would be for all the pulleys, and the 3/4 would be for these knobs right here. I bought this used from a buddy of mine, and so assembly was mostly done for me. I didn't have to put the pulleys on, the cable was already routed, and it still took me about 40 minutes. From scratch, I would say this would take about an hour and a half to 2 hours from out of box. Moving on to specifications. Starting with dimensions, this adds 30 inches onto your rack depth. But remember that plates also have around a 19-inch diameter. So when you put a plate on, it's going to add an extra 8 to 9 inches onto that depth. So think of it as adding 39 inches to your rack depth. As for width, because Bells of Steel uses the exact same dimensions as Rogue, this cross member here goes out 49 inches and then attaches to your 3x3 rack. And same with their Bells of Steel cross member. As for height, it varies between 70 inches, 84 inches, and 90 inches tall. And while on their website it does say this adds 4 inches onto your rack, you can move this cross member down to any point, that way it doesn't add exactly 4 inches. Right now, this adds only about an inch on top of my rack, but I could move this cross member down a few inches and make this an 84-inch tall attachment. My rack being around 90 inches would then be taller than this attachment would be. From there, we're talking about the steel quality. This is 11 gauge powder coated steel, used throughout for the cross member, the base, and the top piece, as well as the cross member if you buy that extra. 11 gauge powder coated steel is the same thing Rogue uses for their racks, so you know this is quality material. Moving on to the weight horns, the sleeve lengths are 10.9 inches, and because of their angle, collars are not necessary. Innovation that excites. It also has a 500-pound cap, so 250 pounds per weight horn, and that's all the cable can handle. And I have had no issues of weights sliding or jiggling off so far, and I doubt I ever will. As we talk about the cable, this is rubber dipped rather than heat shrinked. Rubber dipped being this cable is ran through liquid rubber and it is coated evenly, rather than heat shrinked on, which the cable would be fed through a heat shrink. It's like a sleeve and then heated up and shrunk onto the cable. Because it is dipped, it runs through the pulleys super smoothly. And as we move on to the pulleys, these are aluminum. And as Coop likes to say, I don't know, I forget what he likes to say. He just loves these so much. Okay. And as we talk about the pulleys, these are aluminum. Comes standard with it. These do provide a 1-to-1 ratio for your exercises. So whatever weight you put on these weight horns is exactly what you feel when you're doing your work. Aluminum pulleys versus nylon pulleys are more durable and run smoother for longer than nylon pulleys do. My Titan Lat Pulldown had nylon pulleys, and while I never had a problem with them, I do feel like this just runs so much smoother. As we move further along on the cable, Bells of Steel didn't drop the ball on their cable ball either. It has steel plates on both sides to protect it from where you attach it to and the pulleys themselves whenever it gets put down. Titan had it too, but Titan only did a steel plate on one side. The steel plates prevent breakdown and helps prolong the life of the cable. Unfortunately, if the ball deteriorates enough, you would have to replace the whole cable because the ball isn't able to be replaced by itself. So those steel plates would help you save your money for longer. So good on that, Bells of Steel. If you're wondering if this will be able to attach onto your rack, if it's Rogue, yes. If your rack is 49 inches wide from outer post to outer post, and it's a 3x3 inch rack, then chances are this still fits. Because the adjustability on this cross member is doable. Even though the base itself does not adjust up or down, you could put in blocks of wood and then screw it through the wood and attach it to the holes on your rack. But if your rack is not exactly 49 inches wide, if it's closer or wider, then this cross member isn't gonna fit, which means this rack attachment won't fit on your rack. One thing that I forgot to mention is that this is upgradable to their weight stack, and that goes up to 210 pounds with the weight horn still attached, so you can add on more weights on top of that. That cable is rated for 550 pounds. Don't ask me, I don't know why that's rated for more, but that is also a great addition for your gym if you need that weight stack. However, at the price tag of $892, I don't know that I would upgrade it because that is a hefty sum. That is the rack attachment and a half as far as price goes. And that weight stack might not be worth it to you since it is attached to your rack, which normally comes with your weight storage on it. So it's already pretty quick to move the plates from your rack to this. 892, I don't know, up to you. Now we're moving on to what I like to call the how is portion of the video, starting with how is welding. For the most part, I would say the welding is pretty good. This is American made, and this welding is definitely better than what I've seen from China. However, there is room for improvement. As we look on the welding on this portion of the machine, there is like a gaping hole right here, and I do not know how that passed quality assurance, but it's here in my house, and well, I don't know. And I don't want it in here. Now, I'm not a welder myself, but if I look at the safety arms from Rogue where they welded it and compare it to what the welding I see on this Bells of Steel attachment, I would definitely say that the Rogue welding is better. Bells of Steel, fix yourself. So how is the coating? The coating on this is just as good as powder coating on anything else. And while I have had some dings on it, it seems very durable and pretty thick, surprisingly. So A1 coating, Bells. I did talk about the cables pretty in depth in the specifications portion of the video, but how are the cables? How does it feel? These are spectacular. And in combination with the aluminum pulleys, this thing is smooth. This thing is Mr. Boombastic. Call this fantastic. Working on my back while I'm doing my row. So how is mobility? It's attached, you fool. This is not moving. But stability, if anything, this attached onto your rack makes the rack and this more stable. Because the added weight onto your rack and the extra base that adds to your rack makes it so that nothing's moving. This is very stable. As far as stability in use, this does come with a leg roller as well. And you can slide this in, you detach it. Whenever you start doing your pull downs, you are not moving. And while they don't say the specifications on the leg roller for the rack attachment, based on their adjustable pull-up bar, this should be rated for around 500 pounds as well. And I've had no issues for my 230 pound pull downs with my own body weight of 260 pounds. And I promise you, I am driving this up with my calves as I'm pulling down. And so far I've noticed no deterioration on this bar. How is comfortability? I would say that this is much more comfortable than my previous Titan Lat Pulldown. but it also kind of depends on what bench you're using. For either one of my benches, this is pretty comfortable, and if the bench is too high, obviously I'll just bring up the leg roller and continue being comfortable. Because the Titan lat pull down wasn't as high as this is, it didn't provide me as good a stretch, whereas this, at the top, I'm getting that good stretch. How is the feel? It is advertised as a 1-to-1 ratio, and that is basically exactly what I feel whenever I put on weight. Whatever weight you put on is what you feel whenever you're doing your work. How are the handles? The handles that come with it suck. I mean, it does what it needs to. It's a good lap bar, but it just doesn't feel good, really. There's no knurling. It's just like powder coated steel, and I mean, it's fine. It does what it needs to. And same with the row bar that it comes with. But Bells of Steel also has a $40 lat bar, which is shiny steel and it's knurled. So if you guys just had an option of like, nix this, give me that for like a $30 fee or something, man, like I would do that in a heartbeat, you know? Because I don't want this, and this is what everything comes with. So I just wish there was that added option of upgrade your lat bar for just a little bit extra. So far you've been watching all the specifications, all the how is things about this, but what can you use this for? You can use it for all variations of lat pull downs, all variations of rows. You can use it for tricep push downs, all variations of bicep curls. You can even use it for things like face pulls and standing upright rows. I'm sure there's other things you can use this for. Those were just things that I could think of. Now we'll move on to cost. The base price for this baby is $635. And I know that seems pretty pricey, but when you compare it to Titan Lat Pull Down Tower version 2, that's also 600 bucks. But this is much more compact, and it comes with aluminum pulleys and just the works. So I would purchase this over that for your garage gym. And even though $635 base price, shipping is free. And you know that's always sick. Let me know in the comments, would you purchase this? Is this too pricey for what it does? You better sub for more in-depth till death reviews. And as always, stay hungry.